Hello, my name is Ed Vincent. If you're an upcoming artist, you should check out Go Produce.
SmArtist, we've got Ed Vincent. He's an entrepreneur with over 25 years of business, technology, and management experience. He founded an e-commerce business in 1999, which he then sold to a competitor in 2001. And he is a repeat founder, which includes companies called Simply Engage, My Producer, and Predict Ventures. Ed's passion for festivals and the interpersonal connectivity fostered at festivals led him to actually found a company called Festival Pass, which we'll talk about a little bit more. This is the world's first festival and live event subscription marketplace, providing access to thousands of experiences around the globe, including music, including film, food and wine, arts, sports, theater, lifestyle, and tech and innovation experiences. SmArtists, this is Ed Vincent.
Hello.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Ed. Thank you for your patience. We are now going to make the most of your time and go produce with our first segment. All right. So our first segment is called The Basics. All right. Okay, Ed, I'd like to start off this conversation by asking you, why did you choose integrating into the music space? I know you weren't fully the music industry, but why did you venture here?
Yeah, so I look at it as entertainment in general and live events being across not only music, but as you mentioned in the intro, sports, theater, anything related to the arts. So if I can back up from the basics, being an entrepreneur, I've always loved live events, and one company I did have in most of the 2000s, from about 2002 after I sold the first company to about 2008, it was an agency, had about 70 people, and we brought brands to big experiences. It was an experiential marketing company. So we helped launch a bunch of film festivals. We'd bring big brands to big concerts, and it was a ton of fun. It was the time where I kind of realized that live events are really special. They're a unique time and place, and obviously music is a big part of that. We even owned a film festival down in the Dominican Republic, which was a lot of fun. And from that point in time, I always knew I loved live events. Actually, even before that, I used to throw New Year's parties in New York City back in my right out of college. But outside of that, loved all that, and always knew I wanted to get back to something tech related in the live event space.
Was there so because you were familiar with, I guess, events at least since university, college time, was there a moment in time where you decided this is for me, I need to pursue this more, or you just kind of like, I'm doing it kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, entrepreneurialism is my thing. Like, I always knew from the moment I started my first company that I would never work for anybody else again. And I always realized that if you're going to do any kind of business, you should do one you're passionate about. Because at the end of the day, on a daily basis, you're still doing all the same tasks, right? You're still driving the operational side of the business. You're still hiring. You're still doing marketing. You're still doing finance. You're still, managing the core concept of the business. So for me, I'd rather sell things that I'm passionate about than widgets.
Than not. Right. Exactly. Makes sense. In your career coming towards Festival Pass, you've obviously have a lot of different kinds of experiences. I'm curious, just for fun, what is your most memorable festival experience? The diversity is pretty cool. Absolutely. With all of your experience, what would you change in the music industry, if anything?
Well, we are kind of doing that right now. So, so the one thing I've always felt without there's a place for every company within the ecosystem, and I've always felt ticketing in general has been kind of a non-innovated on experience for the last few decades. It's very transactional. And a lot of consumers get very frustrated on the lack of transparency in the fees and the pricing. So one of the things that we're building with Festival Pass, which I think is just a win-win for everybody, is we don't charge fees. So sometimes people go in and buy a ticket, and when they check out, it's 20%, 30% more than it said when they originally tried to buy it. So we want to remove any of that lack of transparency. So when you're a subscriber to Festival Pass, you never pay a ticketing fee, and you're always going to be paying less than you would anywhere else. And it's actually a pretty simple concept when you think about it from a business model standpoint. Is we're going to give away some of our margin to our members, right? They'll pay less, but in the only ask in so doing of them paying less is they're committing to a monthly subscription, and by doing so, it helps our company build recurring revenue. And when we have recurring revenue, our multiples of our company are higher. So we can have a just as valuable business with lower margins and higher multiples. That means It's a win-win-win. Is the customer gets things cheaper and feels part of a community. We're giving back to the community overall, and it allows us to still maintain a business.
Profits, right? Yeah, it makes sense. That's a very well thought out model. I did a little bit of research on that. We will dive a little bit further into that in What's Your Take. But before we go to What's Your Take, we've got another segment which is quite fun. This is to get your adrenaline going, and we call it we call this round the speed round.
Perfect.
It's the speed round. It's the speed round.
Yeah,
the speed round itself, I've got
take.
20 different questions for you, and you have less than 3 seconds to answer each. If we hit that 3-second mark, you're going to hear a buzzer that sounds like this. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then we can justify them afterwards if we need. All right?
Perfect.
All right. What is your favorite activity to do?
Hang out with my kids.
Has the poem called If by Rudyard Kipling guided you since you were 15?
That is true.
What is your favorite meal?
Chicken.
Dead or alive, who would you like to have dinner with?
Rudyard Kipling.
What is Festival Pass's tagline?
Live life live.
Is water wet?
Yes.
Make the first sound that comes to your mind.
Woohoo!
How big of a market is the event space?
200 billion.
Jeez. If movies to watch, then Netflix is too.
I didn't hear that. Movies to
If movie is to watch, then Netflix is too.
enjoy.
Do you have any nicknames, Ed?
Mr. Ed.
Mr. Ed. You originally got into business by selling papers. Is this true?
Yes.
Way back. Is this the best interview you've ever had so far, minus technical difficulties?
Of course.
Yes! Do you prefer adventure or leisure?
Adventure.
What is the name of the Festival Pass podcast?
Festival Pass Stories.
With Pat Tully. Who's an artist that you currently find the most exciting?
Leon Bridges.
Oh, cool. The next round is on me. What are you having?
Say again.
The next round is on me. What are you having?
Negroni.
We had to reschedule this interview because you were flying.
Yes, to
Yes.
from New York to Texas.
Gee. Who's your all-around favorite person in the world?
My favorite person in the world?
Yes.
It's a combination of my 3 girls, my 3 daughters.
Awesome. What's your favorite city?
Still New York.
And can you imagine a world without music?
No, impossible.
Not worth it. See you later. Count me out. We made it through this round, Ed. Thank you for participating.
All right, that was 20.
That was 20. It went by quite quick. Are any of those questions worth justifying?
No, I think it was all straight up.
Straightforward?
I like the way you went with it, because it's always hard. Even favorite food. I mean, chicken is my favorite food, but is one of my favorite foods. But I can live without it. It's not my diet.
Of course, but like chicken is great, and you can prepare it so many different ways too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, yeah, you could live without it. I do have one question that I'd like to specify on. What lesson did you learn from selling papers way back when that you still apply today?
Yeah, I mean, work ethic in general. I just really enjoyed the satisfaction of making money that I could control myself, meaning that I could make choices with. So it's simple as the journey itself is as gratifying as what comes out of it. So it goes back to people that inherit money or kind of going through a process. If you're not the one making it, it just doesn't feel as good.
It's different. It's entirely different. Yeah. And one thing that I've noticed as well that you kind of mentioned earlier is you stopped wanting to work for other individuals. But being an entrepreneur, you're not necessarily working for individuals. I suppose you're working for your team, if you look at it that way, but also you're working with individuals. And that's what the key difference is. And that's what excites me most. Working for someone is like, almost, but working with
Sure.
someone, you do things together. Yeah.
I agree. And, you've probably heard of that whole servant leader model where at the end of the day, I am working for my team and I like that. And my job is, obviously to create a vision, inspire, get my hands dirty with them. And that's all exciting.
It's very exciting. The last one I want to verify is, I thought this was kind of cool. It's not so music related, but can you share a little bit about the poem "If" and how that shaped the rest of the way you lived?
Yeah, I mean it goes on forever. It's really if you hold your head about you when all around you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can look at triumph and disaster and treat the two imposters just the same, if you just think of that line right there, then and there, and every single thing in life, it teaches you that, hey, if you are successful, don't be too full of yourself because you just don't know what created that success. If you fail in something, don't get down on yourself because the reality is there's other circumstances that could be there. There's a line that says, if you can walk with kings and keep your common touch. And the idea being that if you can be around people that have succeeded or have elevated, but never think that you're any better than anybody else. I can go on, and part of it is just this simple concept to be grateful in life, be level-headed, and never get down on yourself, and always believe in yourself, regardless of what other people say.
It's definitely easier said than done, but it's a beautiful message, and if people can actually apply it to their lives, even in the music world, like outside of music, but also as individual artists, especially as entrepreneurs, you're gonna need to like adapt that mentality to do well.
Well, every artist is an entrepreneur.
Absolutely, that's the common thing that we talk about here. Artists are entrepreneurs. Yes, that's the speed round. Ed, okay, I'm gonna test my luck. I'm gonna see if What's Your Take transition is working.
What's your take? Say what your take is. What's your take? Let me hear you say. What's your take? Can't hear you now. What's your take?
That's the transition.
All right.
In What's Your Take, Ed, we've got we're back to open discussion. No more 3-second rule. Although we didn't get any buzzers, which is cool. We are looking ultimately for your wisdom, and I created a little bit of a theme for this episode, which I'll share with you now. Festival pass. Your mentality. A festival is an experience that is created with the user in mind.
That is correct.
So let's talk a little bit about that. You told us briefly what Festival Pass is. I mentioned also that it is the world's largest. What was it here? How about you just tell us a little bit why Festival Pass was created?
Sure. So a lot of it does go down to the context of my past experiences, right? So everything I've done to date kind of lays into why the business model for Festival Pass. So, the idea is that I built the first company I built was an e-commerce company. So the idea that you can transact online, and the reason we even built that company was when I was mentioning we were throwing New Year's parties back in the day in 1999, 1998. It was this epiphany that instead of running around New York City collecting $20, $40 from everybody in cash to go to the party, we're like, hey, we can can just actually throw up this little thing on the internet, and they could buy their ticket on the internet. And I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty interesting. And it saved us a bunch of time. It was super easy. I guess, when I say super easy, it was a little different back then. It would take 20 seconds for the transaction to go through. And then jumping into the company that we had after that, the experiential marketing company, it was now I knew how to actually run a festival. I knew actually what is involved, what is the business model, what part of the model is tickets, part of it is sponsorship, and then part is the actual operational expenses that exist while you're there. And then even fast forward, the next company I had was a SaaS-based business. And I'm like, okay, so that's basically a subscription-based business. And then my previous business to Festival Pass was a data consultancy in the entertainment space. So we had clients that were a lot of big television networks in Canada. You guys probably know Chorus Entertainment. We helped them build their entire kind of data infrastructure in order to understand their consumer behavior. A&E networks, AMC networks. So we were doing a lot in the space of understanding consumer data and entertainment, as well as film studios. And some people might have heard of a company called MoviePass, at least south of the border. And I spent a little time as a contractor, as their de facto chief data officer, really digging into the 3.5 million subscribers they had and trying to understand what that data meant. So put that all together. I knew I wanted to get back into the live event space. I knew there was a better subscription model that existed. And I've seen many companies kind of fail in understanding the best way to do subscription. And then there were a couple companies that were doing it right. So we borrowed some of the financial model of a company out there. I don't know if you heard of ClassPass at all, if you guys have ClassPass in Canada. Just recently sold for $1 billion, so they did it right. But anyway, so the point I'm getting at is all of these pieces were related to me at least being the right person at the right time to build this company. And then when I realized the market is such a big market globally, being $200 billion, and also seeing that, there's primary ticketing companies and then there's some marketplaces out there, but everybody has this lack of transparency in the way they price their tickets, in the way they charge massive fees. And I just knew that this model is what is the future. It really is in the Gen Z kind of a millennial space. The type of social features we're building into the product and the community we're building. I just think once we get to the size at scale, everybody's going to be really happy.
I'm curious to know, is there something else that makes Festival Pass unique, or the experience that you provide?
Yeah. It's what's exciting is that we have a lot of stuff on the roadmap, as well as a lot of stuff built that we just haven't launched yet, but will be coming very soon. So a couple of those, you mentioned thousands. We have about 80,000 events on the platform now. So any concert you can think of that might be in a decent sized arena, you'll see on there. Most of the bigger music festivals, we're continuously, looking to do deals with some of the smaller ones, just so everybody can be on board. Every major league football game, baseball game, soccer game you can possibly imagine is on there. Broadway theater. So there's a lot of stuff on there. Additionally, we have over 600,000 hotel room nights on there. So anybody that wants to book a hotel room, instead of going to a traditional online travel website, you can come to Festival Pass. And if you're a subscriber, you end up paying 20-30% less than you would anywhere else.
Damn. Okay.
That's just the beginning. The really cool things that I get excited about are all the fun social features. So we have a native mobile app that we're going to go live with very soon. And, discovering events is going to be like scrolling through a TikTok slide. Just the ability to swipe up. And because we're data driven, we're just going to get better and better at, we'll know Big Lou, the 100 events you're going to see as you swipe up through your TikTok-like experience on Festival Pass are going to be ones that are targeted towards you specifically.
Right. Shoot. Okay, that's brilliant. And then you can also, something that I seen was outside of the TikTok experience, if I click attending, my friends can see that I'm attending this, or I can share this kind of information. So it's like a group effort kind of thing.
Yeah. So we're pretty close. I'm going live with that. So part of it is allowing people to engage by connecting their social accounts, as well as connecting within the platform itself. So yes, if you're looking at an event, call it whatever band you like, pick one. Are you going to see a show in Toronto or London or whatever you're doing?
Wherever,
and all of a sudden you'll see, hey, 30 of my other friends are already going to the show because they've already popped up on there as purchasing a ticket.
That's awesome. Okay, and then can we dig into the subscription model a little bit more? You get it's free to sign up, and then if you're signing up for the subscription, you pay an amount. What comes with this amount other than cheaper prices?
Yeah, so the way it works is we have 3 tiers today. We have a $19, $49, and $99 a month tier. And for each one, you get credits. So you get a certain amount of credits for each tier. So the higher plan you commit to, the less you pay per credit. So for example, I'm trying to remember exactly, but if you commit to a $19 a month tier, you're paying about $1.27 per credit. And if you commit to a $99 a month tier, you're paying about $1.10 per credit. So think about the spread there. It's about a 15% spread. So that means the people that have committed to $99 a month are going to be paying about 15% less to acquire tickets to events when they go.
Which, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, makes sense. If you're going to lots of events, may as well.
Yeah, I was going to say all levels never pay a ticketing fee, and they're all going to be cheaper than anywhere else. But you just get that much more value if you get a higher tier.
And what happens per month if you don't use all your credits? They got a rollover system?
Yep, they roll over. So we look at it because this is a credit-based currency in that capacity. We're not in the model like the gym model where there's breakage or you use it or lose it kind of thing. We think of it as a bank account. Like, so if I'm going to go to live events, sign up, use my credits, have them roll over. And if I didn't happen to go to more than one event this month or a couple, it rolls over to the next month, and in a couple months, maybe I have a few hundred credits, and now I want to go to a festival, and a festival might be a couple hundred credits. So now I've effectively saved up, and I've done so in a way where I've paid less for it. And when I get that ticket, it's, going to be 20, 30% less than I would get anywhere else.
Entirely off of the credits. And so different events, I'm assuming, will cost different amounts of credits.
Yeah, you can pay 8 credits for a local band at a local venue, or 300 credits to go to a big music festival.
That's awesome. And so have you struck up the deals with the different venues, and then the venues still are responsible for paying the artists, so the artists are completely removed from this?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So in terms of the tickets, we have relationships with many, many different folks. Some are ticket aggregators, some are the venues themselves, some are rights holders of those tickets, some are some of the secondary markets where something might be sold out, but we can still access the ticket and not charge you a big fee. So we have a bunch of sources how we aggregate all 80,000 tickets. Now on the artist, so yes, any artist engaging with a venue or promoter, that doesn't have anything to do with us. However, we will be building a pretty unique artist program, both for young artists as well as for large artists. And what we're doing is we have this thing, we're using the word badges, but they're not really badges. It's just kind of like in the gaming world, the idea that you get something and then you get value out of that something. So we're going to allow people to even purchase a badge, and we'll figure out pricing depending upon the artist. But let's say X artist, and I've now partnered with Festival Pass, and our members are paying $49 a month for their X amount of credits, and for an extra $5 a month, they can buy this badge. And this badge gets them special access to that artist, maybe a meet and greet if they go to the show, maybe access to tickets a little earlier, but it allows them kind of a really unique aspect for a specific artist they like, or even specific venues. You might live near a specific venue and you're like, I go to this place, 3 times a month, 4 times a month. I want special things from that venue. They might get for $5 a month. They might get a badge that says, hey, for this venue, you're always getting cheaper tickets, or you're getting first access to tickets, or you're getting a VIP section, or whatever it is. Well, the benefits will be related to either the artist or the venue.
That's huge. It builds a sense of loyalty and like trust almost, and familiarity. Sorry, I feel like you're going to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and those badges can. What we love about the concept is it's applied in so many different spaces. So it's for the artist, it's for the venue. We also have different affinity things. So what if you went to University of Toronto or something like that, and you're part of the alumni association and you're proud of it. So I'm not sure if University of Toronto has sports, but if there's a football team or a soccer team or whatever it is, and you want tickets to those games, here in Texas, UT is huge for basketball and football. So people might say, hey, I'm an alumni of UT. I get the UT badge for X amount of dollars extra per month. And then when people see me on the platform, I have a little tag saying a UT tag. So I'm telling everybody else that sees me that I'm a fan or I'm an alumni, and I get special access to things. And I think over time, I don't know how into the NFT or crypto space you are, but we see a lot of opportunity to partner with artists to kind of release or mint NFTs through our platform and enable the consumer to actually use that NFT as part of their badge.
Yeah, we are quite familiar with NFTs. That's interesting. I didn't even realize that was an option for what you were doing, the kind of work that you're doing. So that's super intriguing and interesting for the artists down the road as well. You know a lot of data, and you studied it clearly. You use this data to build your community. How do you think artists can apply this kind of knowledge to build their online communities?
Yeah, I mean, in kind of what I was mentioning earlier is when artists come and partner with us, what we're doing is we're aggregating data across many different places. So, and that's why marketplaces are pretty fun and pretty interesting. Is traditionally, whether you're an artist directly engaging with the consumer or you're a specific music only kind of website, let's say. You often don't understand the collection of interests that exist elsewhere. So let's say I'm a funk artist or a rock and roll artist, and somebody that comes to the site, we might introduce you as the artist to somebody because we know this person often goes to soccer games, loves wine over beer, and because of it, they're going to like you as an artist. I'm just using random examples, but maybe we understand that because we've looked at thousands of people that look like this person, and they seem to be demographically and behaviorally interesting to you. So now all of a sudden, the artist is being introduced to somebody that they would never have access to because that person wouldn't seek that artist out.
That's awesome. Okay, and then outside of Festival Pass, before you had that kind of history, how did you start building a community around you to allow you to do these kinds of things? And then we can focus on how an artist can do that, especially as well for their career.
Sure. So if you're referring to some of the community that gets built around entrepreneurship, there's a lot of it. I've been part of a group called Entrepreneurs Organization for over 14 years in New York, and then there's a chapter here in Austin. So it's a global organization. So for me, I always have this community that people that I'm similar to. I always say entrepreneurship is a little bit of a disease, but everybody else that I hang out with is inflicted by the same disease. So it builds a community.
Yeah.
So that's helped. And even just coming to Austin, not knowing anybody, I immediately had 200 people that are in Austin that are entrepreneurs that I immediately connected with. And what I find, especially here, is Austin is such a music town. So it's fascinating that, any and everybody I connect with here, doesn't matter what their job is, they love live music. So you could be in an Uber and the guy's like, yeah, I just went to a show last night, the driver of the Uber. Or you could be, call up your accountant and they're like, oh yeah, I just went to 3 shows last week. So it's amazing to see people come to Austin because they love live music. So that's a community in itself. And, same goes for the film community and all this other stuff.
Right. There are hubs. Interesting. Okay, so one way to go about it, if you're an upcoming artist or a music enthusiast, go to where people like this kind of stuff. That's huge. And then also, if you can't afford to get to these places immediately, start networking online with people that are in these places, and then you can build that community, right?
Totally, and
Or global.
especially somewhere here like Austin, there's so much support. Like there's a whole organization that provides health insurance for musicians because they want to help musicians continue to do what they do. So a lot of people will take a job just for health insurance and give up on their dream because maybe waiting tables doesn't provide health insurance while they're doing gigs at night. But there's organizations that help. There's organizations that help that. It's called HAM here in Austin. But I love it. I love when you have these places that support the communities. I'm sure there's a lot of the same stuff going on in Nashville.
Yeah, that's wild. I've never even heard of an insurance policy geared directly for creatives. I need to do a little bit more research and maybe get them on out here. Cool. So we spoke a lot about your history, festival pass, the kind of work that you're doing, but now I want to break down the actual performance of artists. You obviously spend a lot of time organizing and building festivals, but obviously being there as well. So when you're taking in performances, what to you makes an amazing performance?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all time, place, energy. Like I love the juxtaposition of, just 2 days ago, I'm trying to remember what day it is, just on Saturday night, there's Formula One going on here in Austin. And you probably heard of Billy Joel, right? He's an artist and I was shocked, an international audience from all over the globe. There's Billy Joel's playing to 50,000 people on a big open field. And to me, that's just like the energy that happens. And the fact that 50,000 people from all over, hundreds of different countries that come in for Formula One, and they're all singing Billy Joel songs. I'm like, wow, that's powerful. And then on the flip side, I belong to just a social club here in Austin, and they do a lot with bringing in really cool artists that either are curated by someone called Black Fret, or they just bring in some other cool artists. And about a month ago, there's a guy named Jordan Matthew Young who was on The Voice, and he's really just like a great slide guitarist and soul singer. And he was up on, it wasn't even stage, up in a seat, a couch, or a stool, I should say, just playing for 20 of us. And it was just like, that kind of experience is just awesome. So, for me, it's the juxtaposition of amazing humans and amazing artists, whether it's, in an intimate room of 20 or an intimate room of 50,000.
Intimate is the key word there here. Like going from 20 to 50,000 is completely different, but at the same time, from the artist's perspective, they have to bring their 100%, regardless of if it's 20 people or if it's 50,000 people. Do you find that there's a way that successful artists are able to train themselves to do this?
Oh, I think so. I think every artist that goes out and performs does it because it fills their soul. Like even having coffee yesterday at a local joint called Mozart's, there's a non-famous singer playing acoustic guitar and just cranking it out for 30 people drinking coffee, and just the passion coming out of his voice just sitting there. I know that he loves what he does. So the idea that you do the same thing whether there's 30 or 50,000, so you gotta bring it every time.
Every single time. It's the individual experience that makes up the collective. That's cool. We briefly touched on what the future of music events could kind of look like, but I got to ask again. It's not just going to be virtual. It's not just going to be live events. But what is it going to be?
The one thing that I truly believe is cool is because of the pandemic, so many small venues that never invested in streaming technology were able to get it pretty cheap because so many companies came out and started building it. So now, I doubt there's a music venue in North America that doesn't have a couple cameras set up now that could just stream at will. And what I like about that is now the infrastructure set up, and it could create a lot of great opportunities. We don't have it ready yet today, but I would love on Festival Pass for people to come in and, go watch a band in New York City that they love, down on the Lower East Side, stream it for a half hour, pay 5 credits, something that just adds value to the artist, adds value to the venue, and then flip over to LA and check out the Viper Room and, maybe catch, another band wherever, if they happen to be playing in Oklahoma, but it's my favorite band, and now I can see them in Oklahoma for 30 minutes. And all of a sudden now I had a 2-hour night, had a beer with my buddies, and I got to see some of my favorite bands in the moment live in unique locations. So I think that could be a new way of streaming, as opposed to it being this highly produced, event that shows up on ABC.
For someone following in your footsteps, I know you've got like this kind of story, but generally an entrepreneur. What would you suggest someone earlier on in their stage?
Sure. So, don't be afraid, have patience, seek out mentors, find organizations. It's the same in any kind of thing, artist or entrepreneur. Find community, because once you find community, everybody supports you. Don't be afraid to ask for something. It's amazing that you don't get what you don't ask for.
It's the asking. Yeah, asking is huge. You said find mentors and people around you. Who were the first couple of people that you confided in to like begin growing?
Yeah, it all depends on the time and phase of life. But many, many, many years ago, my first internet company, there's a gentleman who became an investor, older gentleman, but was like a second father. So he was just very calming and provided a lot of great feedback. He was more on the money manager side, but invested in a ton of early stage companies, and was able to give me some guidance along the way. Yeah, wisdom, guidance along the way. And then honestly, just being part of this entrepreneur community allowed me to seek out a ton of people that had built and sold businesses, that had been in my industry or been in a totally different industry. And even that peer mentorship is amazing. To this day, I'm part of a forum of 8 people, and the same 8 people for the last 14 years, we get together every month. We go on retreats.
Damn.
I'm actually going to the Dominican Republic next week with them.
Awesome.
And we learn every time, and we share some of our challenges, and it's just amazing to have that peer group.
Very, very critical. Okay. Say I'm early on in my career and I don't necessarily have this peer group established, but I have an idea, and I think I have a great idea. Would you recommend me going out there and just like trying my best to figure out this idea, or should I find some support, learn from them, maybe take on an internship, and then begin to flourish at my idea?
Yeah, I think today there's so many places to gain that community. So, in almost every major city in the U.S., I'm sure the same goes in Toronto and elsewhere in Canada, there are startup communities, right? So if you have an idea, here in Austin alone, there's probably 20 events this week just on going out and hanging out with other entrepreneurs, investors, people that are just part of the community. So the answer is, it is there to seek out. And the beauty of the internet is you just Google it and find it. So I would highly recommend just going and hanging out with others that are like-minded. And along the way, it's like the sliding doors concept is you meet one person who then introduces you to the next, who introduces you to the next. And then all of a sudden, and even for us in Festival Pass, it's a great example. I moved to Austin, again, not knowing that many people, and just shared some thoughts and ideas with one CEO of a large film company here, who said, I love what you're doing. You have to meet this person. And then this person was the co-founder of HomeAway, who sold this company for $4 billion. And he's like, oh, great. I love it. I'm going to invest. And you got to meet this person. And then before you know it, it just everybody builds a community around you. And then now everybody wants to see you succeed.
You can start with zero. People have to realize that you can start with zero. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to have past experience. You just got to start doing something, meet that one person, bring value to that one person, and then continue to grow from there. That's super awesome. Thank you for sharing that. All right. We are near the end. We got one quick final segment. This one is called Clear the Air.
Clear the air.
Let's stop recording. Cut.
We do have SmArtist. One of our listeners sent us a question. So I'm going to play that for you. And then the final question is from the Grumpy Sound Guy. So here we go.
Hey Ed, my name's Nuno, and I just had a quick question for you. Do you think it would be wise for producers and artists alike to use some sort of subscription-based model to create revenue for themselves? And if so, what would be the best way to do this? Thanks, man. Cheers.
Yes. Yes. So, and that's a perfect dovetail into what I was mentioning earlier. Is when we talk about these badges, effectively what we're doing is we're creating a subscription fan club effectively for the artist. So the answer is yes. Obviously, I'm a little subjective in my opinion on to do it with a platform that's already building an audience. So, for example, if an artist partners with Festival Pass and we collectively decide we'll charge the customer $5 or $10 a month to participate, and the artist is the one that has to provide those benefits back to them, whether that's in a meet and greet, whether that's getting on a Zoom like call once a month to the people in this group, the artist is going to get the lion's share of that revenue. So if we're charging $10, the artist will probably get 7 or 8 of those dollars, and we'll just take a little bit to operate the business. But absolutely, I think consumers are willing to vote with a monthly subscription in order to get some kind of benefit, and that benefit could just be access.
Literally just access. That's awesome. Okay, so that's kind of similar-ish approach to what Patreon can be, but also very different because you're taking all of those kinds of different tiers out of the way and just doing it through Festival Pass.
Yeah, and part of it too is because we have the all of the other aspects of it. We have the tickets, we have the ability to create the audience discovery. So it's a little less than them building a subscription social path. It's that's more like the OnlyFans kind of world.
Yeah, and that's a whole business in itself. Like you gotta build that out. Cool, awesome. Well, big shout out to Nuno. Thank you so much for asking that question, and thank you, Ed, for answering his question. Our last question is from the Grumpy Sound Guy.
Ed, I learned that you grew up in the Jersey Shore. Is this right? I was wondering if you could share with our listeners one cool music-related memory that you have from the time there.
Sure. Well, the part of the Jersey Shore I grew up on, if anybody likes Bruce Springsteen or Bon Jovi, they still to this day live in a town called Rumson, New Jersey, which is around that area. But obviously Asbury Park is where Bruce got his start. So I went to high school just a couple of towns south of that. So I mean, there's a million stories, but just whether it's catching Springsteen at the Stone Pony in Asbury Park, whether it's seeing Bon Jovi just at the Starbucks because they're just regular people hanging out, and then also more of a high school story is they used to have this thing called the WNEW Days, just a radio station down in Asbury Park. And everybody, myself included, would all skip school, on that Friday leading into the weekend concert. And we'd all just, make our way in droves, tens of thousands of people to the beach in Asbury Park and just watch bands all day and, swim out to people's boats that they had, anchored offshore and, do all the things high school kids shouldn't do. But we had a lot of fun.
That sounds awesome. Reminiscing.
Yeah, so the advice for young professionals is play hooky on school and go watch live music.
Only if it's a good festival. I'm sure here in Austin there was plenty of kids that bailed out of school Friday to go see the first day of ACL Live.
Oh, I bet. That's awesome. Grumpy, do you have any final words?
I think that was great.
That was awesome. Perfect. Cool. Mr. Ed, do you have any final words for us?
No, I think I love what you guys are doing. It's just everybody keep passionate and live life live. For any artist or entrepreneur, just have a little patience and faith and go check out the poem "If" by Rudyard Kipling, because if you've ever had a bump in your life, the poem puts your head in the right place to solve it.
Yeah, no, I definitely recommend doing that too. I read it once I encountered that you enjoyed it. Definitely recommend doing that. Where can our listeners find you or more information on Festival Pass?
Sure. So festivalpass.com is the website to go sign up for free. Instagram, love you to join us on Instagram. Facebook, we need a little work on TikTok, but we'll get there. And me personally through LinkedIn, that's the best place to find me.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. SmArtist, I'm going to include all of those links in our show notes, so don't fret. You don't have to write them down right now. That being said, though, thank you so much, Ed, for being here. We very much do appreciate your time. SmArtists, if you want to connect with me or other like-minded individuals, check us out on our Facebook group, goproduce.ca/groups. That's also in the show notes. We will engage, we will chat, we will learn in that group. My name is Big Lou. We out.